Hello everybody and welcome back. It's finally time for another Grand Campaign recap video. I'm Count Christo, thank you very much for joining me. So, today we're going to be going back over some of the Grand Campaign. If you haven't seen my initial intro video to the campaign, it's worth watching. Very, very briefly, it's a campaign that the Paradox developers are playing live on Twitch in 5 10-hour sessions, and they're playing from CK3 to EU4 to Hearts of Iron 4 to Stellaris. They're 4 actively developed grand strategy games, and they are doing it constrained by us, by the Senate. We get to vote on what they get to do. Now, I've already done a couple of recaps on the concept of the thing, on my particular religion, on day 1 and day 2. Daily recap videos were a bad idea. That's way too much time. I can't do a daily video. And we are now, I did day 1 and day 2. We're now 14 or 16 or so days into the thing, and I haven't done any more. So, this is going to be a recap of the first Senate legislative session that ran between effectively day 1 and about day 7. The actual dates will be in the title of the video, so you'll know them better than me. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at all of the bills that were proposed, all the amendments that were proposed, and I'm going to use that as a backdrop to explain to you what happened. And of course, this is from my perspective. I'm not omniscient. I don't see everything. I don't know everything that takes place. But I can give you a fairly good insight into what was going on, at least in one of the largest parties, the Victorian Prosperity Hawks, as well as we're going to take a look at all of the bills. We're not going to fully read all the bills because they're real long, some of them, but they're great fun. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we're going to be taking a look at two things. Firstly, under Senate discussion, the voting lobby, and the statute book in Discord. This is 3 places where a lot of the meat and potatoes of the voting goes on. And we're also going to be taking a look at, as I mentioned, the text of some of the bills. This is a bill that I am particularly fond of, but we will get to that in time. So first off, let's start with how it all began. As you know from the first 2 episodes, first 2 day summaries, the parties formed, and one of those parties was the Bureaucratic Department. And the Bureaucratic Department has the high honour of being the very first party to ever issue to ever propose a bill. The Crown Authority Act. The Crown Authority Act basically attempted to limit what the Senate could do. And let me, if I open it up here, we can take a look at how it began. Oh, we don't have the original version. That is a shame. That is a shame. Well, we can see it in the in here, because the interesting thing about this bill is that I think it started out not perfect. No offense, TBH. TBD. You're a great party, but I think this bill didn't start out perfect. However, it was amended twice. Although I'm only seeing 2 amendments, perhaps one of them was friendly. Yes, new clause was added in. So we had a number of amendments that were proposed to this bill. First, let's look at how the bill ended up, and then we can talk a little bit about how it got there. We won't have this much detail on every bill because this video would be 1,000 hours long, but we can start here. Crown Authority Act. Be it enacted by the Senate that 1. The player monarchs may not control more countries than their domain limit. If at any time the player monarchs go over the limit, they must award the title to a vassal as soon as possible. The Senate must approve any change to Crown Authority law. In the event of a faction demanding a change to Crown Authority law on threat of civil war, the Senate will decide what the response shall be. Player monarchs must make all efforts to ensure that vassals do not control counties in more than 1 duchy, and upon the formation of an empire, all ducal vassals will be limited to only 1 duchy. This passed, as you can see, on the 16th of April, with the ayes to the left for 453, the noes 233, with 12 abstaining. 19 abstaining. But let's take a look at how we got there, because what happened was essentially the bill came forward and it was a pretty good bill, and then the VPH, we came in, we amended it, and we made it a great bill. So we added in a few things. Firstly, we added in, there were some rejected amendments. We're not going to go through every single amendment. There was this amendment, which I quite like. Basically, what it had previously said is that Crown law was strictly limited to a certain level, and I didn't like this. There was a little bit too much freedom on the behalf of the player monarchs, and so we changed it so the Senate has to approve any change to the law. And the explanatory note says it all: changing Crown authority is the business of the Senate, a matter for the people. This is going to be a prevailing force through a lot of the VPH's legislative agendas. The Senate is sovereign, and the Senate must be respected. There were a number of other parties that were rejected. This one was rejected, but then some portion of it was accepted into the main bill, but in a friendly amendment by the main people. I swear there was another one around. Yeah, so there is a Rage Party who like rolling. This was a union of the Apocalypse Party and the RNG Party. If they ever go over the limit, they must roll a d6 to see if they can keep it. There's going to be a common theme in things proposed by Rage. We also, I believe, had... yes, an amendment proposed by the VPH was accepted by the bill's authors, and that refers to the fact that this section of the bill... here was actually friendly amended into the bill, meaning we proposed it to the bill's authors and they put it in. So in other words, this section of the bill is pretty much the VPH is doing. The bureaucratic department worked with us on the first one. We got the second one voted through with the support of various other parties, but really that part of the bill, which in my mind, come on, I think actually this part of the bill as well. This part of the bill is largely from the VPH. It was adapting on an existing good bill. Don't take this as derogatory towards the TBH's bill. But I want to show you, we were very pleased with this bill in the VPH. Very, very pleased. So pleased, we've made propaganda around this bill, and I think that will help you begin to understand just how into this campaign that people are getting. So here is some rather great content that was made around this bill. The Crown Laws Act passed April 16th, 867. Senate stands sovereign. Responsible governments for all. Introduced by the Bureaucracy Department. Amended by the victorious Prosperity Hawks. Created by the VPH Propaganda Corner with our wonderful flag and the VPH seal of approval on this bit of propaganda for this excellent, excellent bill. I am unironically going to get this on my wall. The feeling of like, the bill comes forwards, you negotiate, you get friendly amendments, you get hostile amendments, you negotiate with other parties. It was a fantastic feeling. And, it was a very clear kind of beginning of an ideological battle that has pervaded a lot of the first session. And you might see this in some of the other bills that we'll go over, where the VPH and various other parties are standing shoulder to shoulder on the subject of this. Senate stands sovereign. We're very much in favor of the fact that the Senate should have authority and the player monarchs should be curtailed and made to bow to our whims, essentially, as much as possible. And you will see that in some of the future bills that we take a look at here. So that's the Senate, the Crown Laws Act. To my mind, this is our Magna Carta, the foundation from which a lot of our other bills were built, and I love it. I mean, this is a piece of propaganda. Obviously, this poster introduced by the Bureaucracy Department, amended by the Victorian Prosperity Hawks. I love that phrasing. Other parties tried and failed to amend this bill. I remind you. Now let's head back to Discord and take a look. So as you can see, you vote just by reacting in Discord, which is a really good system, and it's worked quite nicely. It's very easy to get involved, and if you want to get involved in future votes, in the description of this video and in the comments of this video, there is an invite to the Discord. And let me put. Oh, I misclicked there. Invite, copy. Let me put one in the stream chat as well. I'm live right now. If you want to get involved, do join the Discord and get involved with that. So, many amendments, and then the actual bill itself went onto the Senate floor. He's deleted it already. Never mind. So the amendments got closed. There's a time limit for when chambers can. From when amendments can come in. And what was the second one? Okay, so the Royal Marriage Bill. That's right. The Royal Marriage Act was quite a controversial bill. There was a lot of back and forth on this one. First, let's take a quick look at how the bill ended up. An act concerning the marriage and betrothal of the heir apparent to the realm. This was proposed by the Victorian Prosperity Hawks with the support of the Bureaucracy Department. It was authored by the wonderful Emu Emperor, who is one of the Speaker's secretaries within the Victorian Prosperity Hawks. He's written a lot of great legislation. The future of any realm that sees power pass from one generation to the next relies heavily on the choice of spouse for that next generation. A carefully planned and organized marriage can be crucial for bringing further prosperity to the nation, even allows for the potential expansion without war. Often, however, rulers and heirs will be hastily wed without considering all that could be lost due to this lack of care. This bill intends to rectify this and ensure the Senate has the power to guide the future of our royal family. You can see the influence of the Crown Law Bill prevailing through here already. Our Magna Carta has started us on the right footing, and we are backing the concept of Senate standing sovereign. So this is past amendments, and there were some really interesting amendments to this bill. Let's hop back over to the Discord. So there were a number of amendments, and they were not accepted as friendly. First one, add clause 3. The player monarchs flip a coin every time they receive a marriage request, and they have to accept based on that. That's, of course, the RNG party doing what they do. And then, vitally, add new clause 4. When considering candidates for royal marriage, candidates bearing the scaly trait shall be prioritized over characters with similar stats. The scaly trait shall, for intents and purposes, be regarded as the most valuable physical trait. Now, this passed, and this was a really, really key moment. As you can see, that got included here eventually as point 3 in the bill. The amendment vote on that passed so narrowly in favor of scaly. It was well, it wasn't actually, I don't think it was that narrow. I think it was something like 60% scaly, 40% nose. And then there was this really interesting political hullabaloo around whether or not the scaly amendment should pass. And it all coalesced because there were essentially 2 really major parties in the Senate at this point. Let me... I'm going to say, no, not 2 major parties, but there were 2 parties that represented approximately 50% of the Senate. And then there were all of the other parties of varying degrees, from relatively small to quite to kind of medium-sized, to make up the remaining portion of the Senate. And of course, there's a bunch of floating voters who don't belong to any party at all. Let me get up the link. Excuse me while I just find this 1 second. Okay, so here we have it. This is the composition of the Jorvik Senate. And let me just hard refresh this, because I think this might be a slightly old version. Oh, is that the right date? Does that look right? 22nd of the 4th. I think there might be a new version of this, but anyway, we're early in the stream right now, so that's fine. So as you can see, early on, my party, the Victorian Prosperity Hawks, and the Imperial Party represented about half of the Senate, and we were both against the Scaly Amendment. As things went on, though, the Imperial Party gained members. They overtake us at some point in here. There you go. See, they're getting close. And as we move into the later in the 15th, the Imperial Party takes the lead that they have held to this day. But as you can see, it's not like there's just 2 major parties. There's a lot of parties with significant numbers. And remember, this vote is taking place on about the 15th. So this is the composition of the Senate at the time. And essentially, the VPH and the Imperial Party, we're strongly against the Scaly Amendment. But all of these other parties banded together, and they said, down with the big shots. We don't want to see no domination of the Senate by these two big parties. We, the bureaucratic department, soil sales, I'm not sure if they were in this actually, but the soil sales science admirals, the Bordigor party of Sneck, they banded together and they said no more domination, no more Victorian prosperity hawks just amending whoever's bill or passing whatever act. And there were memes of Gulliver Travels images. It was amazing. It was a really exciting time to be a part of the Grand Campaign, because there were all these small parties banding together and getting what they wanted into the bill. And as you can see, and I should close the ones I've already looked at, they succeeded. The Scaly Amendment vote passed, and it passed fairly decisively. It wasn't exactly a razor's edge, as I recall. And that's really significant. Those parties had banded together, and there was this real feeling in the Senate of anti the big parties. Like I said, there were Gulliver Travels stuff, there was all this, and the big parties were being accused of trying to dominate all the other parties. And speaking as the speaker for the VPH party, I didn't like this. I don't want to be seen as the party trying to dominate the others. I want to be the party that stands up for the little guys, and stands up for democracy, and stands up for the rights of all of the parties. So I went to my diplomatic corps. And this is where you get the kind of extra insight into my party, where obviously you're not going to be able to get this with all of the others from me, because I don't know it. But we decided, and we had a conversation within the diplomatic corps. We were saying, look, and with our propaganda wing as well, we were saying, look, this is really quite troubling. We don't want the game to turn into a two big parties versus the little guy. That's obviously not a good PR image. That's not what we want. Ideologically speaking, that's not what we are looking to do. And so we reached out. We sent out I set it number one priority, all ping on the diplomats, get the word out. We are the friend of the little parties. We stand with the Senate, we stand with democracy, and we don't want to have this impression of us being Gulliver, the big guy, fighting against the little guys. That's definitely not what we want. And so we proposed the following: the Declaration on the Primacy of Democracy. There were various reasons why I wanted us to get this through. Now, this is not a bill, this is not an amendment, this is a diplomatic declaration jointly made by these 5 parties. And as you can see, these 5 parties represent a significant portion of the Senate, and this took, oh my god, it took a lot of work. I think between me and I think I had 6 diplomats at the time. Dr. Subnautica was integral on this. Teaser worked on this. There are others whose names aren't going to immediately come to mind, but I think that's not good enough, so I'm going to go and look. I remember that Mr. JT did a lot of work on this. Neptune worked on this. Gothmod worked on this. 9guy worked on this. Emu worked on this. There are others. We really went on. The phrase I used in our internal diplomatic back channel was, we have to begin a charm offensive. We can't allow our party to become this decadent big membership party that fights against the smaller parties. We have to take a very proactive stance to making sure that we stand shoulder to shoulder with those we want to. And that's not anyone seeking to dominate the Senate. That's the other parties. That's the smaller parties within the Senate who have these great agendas and don't deserve to be marginalized. And so, I'm not saying anyone else did try to marginalize them, to be clear. And so, we got collective agreement on the following. The undersigned parties do hereby declare democracy at every level is something to be loved and defended. The voice of the smaller parties in their pursuit of their individual or collective aims are a vital part of a healthy and functioning democracy in order for the Senate to cultivate a diverse range of thoughts and ideas. That the full Senate body, its working and systems are an embodiment of these democratic values is to be treasured and protected, and its decisions are to be respected. Now, this was a key point in negotiations. We were, all these parties, we'd been fighting hard against the Scaly Amendment. We didn't want that to pass. And so all these other parties were saying, well, are you going to accept the Scaly Amendment? And what I heard from the Imperial Party is no. The Imperial Party said, no, we don't want this bill to pass anymore. We think that the Royal Marriage Act, as it stands with the Scaly Amendment, should be voted down. And they lobbied for it to be voted down, and they lobbied us to vote it down. And that that didn't sit well with me, and that's part of what motivated us to go for this primacy of democracy declaration. We don't want to be standing shoulder to shoulder with a party that says, yes, the Senate voted this amendment in, but now we're going to block the bill. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. We want to be standing with the Senate. We want to respect the function of democracy. That various parties' authoritarian stances threaten these values and should therefore be opposed at every opportunity where they continue to do so. And I think given what I just said, it's not very difficult to see what I intended this to mean. The signatories do commit to support a flourishing people's democracy, which shall include the rights and protections of every party in the Senate, the commitment to respecting the decisions of the Senate, the denouncement of authoritarian government, and the commitment to the freedoms of the people, as signed by the bureaucratic department, the Victorian Prosperity Hawks, the Glorious Revolution Party, the Soil, Sales and Science Party, and the illustrious liberal chambers of burghers and tradesfolk. There were various other people who indicated they somewhat supported the declaration but didn't want to be on it, and that's fine, of course. Everyone's very happy to do that. But this was to me, this was a watershed moment. The VPH could have gone one of two ways. We could have leaned into we're the big party, vote for our bills, back our amendments, or we will destroy you. Or we could have gone for the democracy route. We could have gone for compromise. We could have gone for cooperation. And we went for cooperation, and it's gone really well. As you'll see as the campaign plays out, it was a fantastic choice, though I say so myself. This was the right path, and this led to a kind of close working relationship in various future bills with various of these parties, which has worked really, really nicely, and it creates this beautiful document, which I must say I'm very pleased with. As I was saying, so this was the work of me, about 8 of my diplomats, and various diplomats, of course, from other parties were engaged in these bilateral negotiations on the text of the document, on who would be involved in the document. I estimate this took approximately 50 hours to create. I'm not exaggerating. I think I spent easily 12 hours working on this. I know that a number of diplomats, both in my party and other parties, spent a lot of time working on this. You're looking at something that takes longer than an EU4 campaign. And it's, yes, that's absurd, but it was a hell of a fun thing to be a part of. I was up regularly until 2 a.m. trying to work on negotiations to get this declaration through, and we got it through, and it felt amazing. That's the primacy of democracy. We're going to have to move a little bit faster if I'm not going to be live for the next 9 hours recording all of the different bills that were proposed. So let's just take a look at some of the other bills that went through rather than actually all of the votes, and then we can talk about them. So this obviously passed. The Crown Authority Act passed. There was also the Declaration of War and Peace Act. This was brought in by the Soil, Sales and Science Party. As I recall, there wasn't a lot of dispute on this one. There was one small amendment that was not accepted as friendly that we did end up voting up, which is the addition of this clause. Essentially, this limits the declaration of wars to when they are directly approved by the Senate. And this clause means that if the Senate has explicitly endorsed a specific war through legislation, you can declare that war without getting the approval of the Senate, because of course we've already indicated our approval. And this is a really good bill. I think SSS, or S squared, as they're also called, did a really good job with this bill. It's very nice, it's clean, it adds power to the Senate. 2 thumbs up. Good job, SSS. Next up, an act concerning the marriage and betrothal of the heir apparent of the realm. And this is one on which I will admit I didn't handle this with the pinnacle of decorum that one might expect in the Senate. Because this is a bill about the marriage and betrothal of the heir... Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong bill. This is the one that I'm talking about. The Succession Act. The Imperial Party proposed it. When this bill was first proposed, this was not in it. There was no recognition in the bill that this was, of course, the perfect moment to establish gender equal succession. And this caused a bit of hullabaloo in the Senate. I called it out fairly stridently. I said that I thought this bill represented a moment, a kind of clear opportunity to establish gender equality within the realm that was being missed for no good reason. And I said that the bill therefore represented something discriminatory, which I think I stand by those statements, but I could definitely have put it in a more gentle way towards the Imperial Party. It's politics, so you know I could have been more polite, and I think as the Senate session has gone on, a lot of the party leadership have become a lot more amicable towards each other. We're leaning in a little bit less to the political role playing, and I do think that's a good thing. And that goes for me and for various others. So it began just like this, basically, attempting to get Scandinavian elective succession, and the Senate has to propose any future changes to elective laws. Senate elective succession is great. It suits me. It's elective. We have a primacy of democracy. That sounds good. But it needed this, which is the recognition of gender equality laws as soon as possible in order to allow all talent to work towards furthering the realm's glory and prosperity. It's not purely a moralistic stance that we need to establish gender equality. It's actually just better for the realm. We can have better advisors, better heirs, better leaders for our armies. And so gender equality was a high on many parties' priority list. And this, it should be noted, was added as friendly by the Imperial Party. They didn't contest it. They didn't say, no, you can't change our bill to include that. They were totally amicable. Their leadership, that is. Some of the members were not, but the leadership was totally amicable. They said, yes, absolutely, bring that into our bill. It's a great addition. We just didn't think it was really relevant here. We thought it should maybe be in a religious act or in some other bill, which is, it's not necessarily wrong. I just think this is the best place for it to be, because a bill about succession should include the necessity of the equality of that succession. So that was how that panned out. As you can see, it passed overwhelmingly in the Senate with the addition of this. I was arguing to encourage my members to vote in favor, as were many, many other parties. I think the only people who were against it were really those who disliked the idea of Scandinavian elective succession. Not sure why you dislike that, because basically gavel kind is the only other option at the beginning of the game, but it passed handily, and it ended up it started as an okay bill with a glaring absence to me, and it ended a really good bill. Not just because of the section that we added, and of course, not all of this was just our text. Things like the fact that if the player monarchs a foreign religion, they must include the gender equality doctrine, is a really good addition. I don't think that came from within my party. There were many, many good additions in Clause 3 of this bill. The Education Focus Act, this was another one proposed by the Victorian Prosperity Hawks, who, it should be noted, since you don't know this if you've only watched the Day 1 and Day 2 recap videos, we were the union of three different parties. The Peace and Prosperity Party, the first party ever founded in the Senate, founded by yours truly, and the Liberal Hawks, who are now known as the Hawks, who joined. They formed our Hawk wing within the party. We also had the Victorian Party, who joined in. How do I, didn't you subscribe yesterday? Thank you very much. The Victorian Prosperity Hawks are formed, yes, as I mentioned, of the Peace and Prosperity Party, the Liberal Hawks, now just known as the Hawks, the Religious Party also joined, the Victorian Party also joined, and the newly founded Science Wing have joined in, which is pretty nice. Pretty nice. So we have 5 wings within our party, and this came out, I believe, of not the Science Wing, because it didn't exist yet, but out of those that would go on to found the Science Wing. Essentially, this mandates focusing on stewardship, because we, of course, are a party very much in favor of prosperity, of wealth, of growth, and stewardship fits with that very well. We won't go too much into that because this video is already 30 minutes long. The first Peasants' Rights Act. Now, this was a really interesting political fulcrum. We ended up throwing our full support behind this, and I won't go into full detail, but I believe part of that was due to some deals, some deals that won't be too explicitly mentioned. But us and the SSS have been working very closely together on a number of things. We're not coalition partners or quote unquote allies or anything like that, but we've enjoyed our working relationship with the SSS very much. We found that our interests have aligned on a lot of legislative matters. So this eventually got a bit. It started out saying peasant leaders must be recruited or released. We changed it to, the VPH, compromised with SSS, changed it to recruited or exiled. There was a lot of talk. Exiled is just letting people get away with it. I don't think so. They're peasants. Their only way of making a living is working on the land. Exile represents the loss of all of their property, their friends, their family. I thought it was a good punishment, but the Imperial Party argued strongly in favor of execution instead, and eventually The Senate backed them. There was a lot of kind of law and order talk in the Senate. It was a really good 2 days. It was great fun. I mean, like, every 2 days in this session has been amazing, but the talk on whether they should be exiled or recruited or banished, it was amazing. So we eventually settle on, if they have a good trait, they must be recruited. In other words, if they can repay their debt to society through service, then they should be allowed. There were some problems with how the amendments to this worked. There was originally another bit that we friendly amended in, which required the recruited leaders to have the hook that you get when you recruit them to be maintained in order to ensure their loyalty. There was some confusion, some legislative issues, which meant that amendment got removed essentially accidentally, but no matter, we move on. Now, it also includes these two additional very important points. And this is the bit that, in my opinion, remains in force to this day and will affect Hoi 4 and Stellaris. The player monarchs may not select events options which imply or explicitly entail the direct harm of a peasant. That means any event that says burn down a city, any event that says bomb a planet, any event that says we need to bring in harsher laws or anything like that, the player monarchs must not select events options which imply or explicitly entail the direct harm of a peasant. The question is, does blowing up planets directly harm a peasant? Yes, definitely. But note, this is limited in scope, only event options. Secondly, and again, still in force, although perhaps on a more role-playing level, noble rebels being traitors to the realm and therefore unfit to hold land must have their lands taken from them to secure the wealth and prosperity of the loyal court. It's a great bill. Parts of it are still in force. This, of course, is not relevant anymore post CK3, but these two very much are. And this is a really, really important and kind of pivotal part of our kind of basic. This is basically more or less the extent of our Bill of Rights is this right here. This one clause represents the Bill of Rights in our beautiful burgeoning democracy. Next up, the State of Rebels and Prisoners of War Act. The previous one dealt with peasant rebels. This deals with all of the others. Again, this says we should confiscate their lands, we should reward them. Prisoners from external wars shall have their fate determined on their martial and status level. This actually caused a bit of a problem. It's a good bill, and I didn't see this problem before the game started. I'm not holding this against the Imperial Party. It was widely supported, this bill. We had about 2/3 voting in favor. And diplomats in Stellaris are not peasants, in my opinion. But it caused a problem because you couldn't ransom rebels. Sorry, not rebels. Captured people without a Senate quick vote, which led to a lot of quick votes in the Senate during the stream and led to some problems around that and problems around wealth. I will get into that a bit more when we get to the summary of the first session. The Dutch Cultural Act, Operation Orange, in cooperation from, of course, the Glorious Revolution Party, in cooperation with the Liberal Chamber of Burghers and Townsfolk, the FPGC? What the heck is the FPGC? Oh, the Fire Platigator Conference, or Congress, or something. Sorry, I always just think of them as the Gators. TBD, Rage, Snek, Admirals, Imperial Party. This was the big move by the Dutch party, and there was a lot of controversy around this that we're not going to go into too much, but essentially the Dutch made every single deal they could to make sure people were backing this bill. This bill also represented there were two bills standing in opposition to each other. This one and the one proposed by the VPH. And the one proposed by the VPH was seen by a lot of people as one too many bill coming out of the VPH. I think a lot of what the GRP managed to achieve here is because people felt a little bit sick and tired of the VPH always getting their way. Up to this act, literally every bill that passed or didn't pass in line with the VPH party line. If we thought something should not pass, it didn't pass, and if we thought it should pass, it did pass. And the only exception to that is not a bill but an amendment. We've already touched on the Scaly Amendment. And you can see how other parties might start to get frustrated with that. Now, there was also some confusion. SSS was on the proposed buy list when, in fact, they were not supporting this bill. They were, in fact, directly supporting our bill, which was in opposition to this one. But this is all water under the bridge at this point. We can move on without too much time. The Dutch culture is hereby established as the main culture of the realm. It also represents a inclusion of various conquest goals, including conquering, historically Dutch lands. It includes our new name. It includes what the ruler must be of Dutch culture, heirs of Dutch culture, moving the capital to Holland, moving it away only temporarily, and, interestingly, in Europa Universalis 4, the Netherlands must be formed. Now this, I believe, is the first example of a bill explicitly, not implicitly, but explicitly, attempting to limit the players across 2 whole games. And you can see why the Dutch put this here, the GRP, because they knew that they were putting all their eggs in this basket. They had a huge amount of effort being poured in to this bill, and they knew that they weren't likely to be able to assemble, this is presumptions on my part, knew they weren't likely to be able to do that again. They weren't going to be able to pull together enough support to do that again. And so they put this in here. And this became very controversial. And it's part of why this bill ended up being struck before the EU4 session began, with various other parts of it, but notably not this one, being incorporated into the bill that would form the General Governance Bill, which we will look at in a future video when I summarize the legislative session that preceded the EU4. The EU4 game. We won't look too much more at this. If you really love drama, like, someone ping a YouTube drama channel to go and dig through message logs on this one. There was betrayal of diplomatic trust. There was lies about deals. There were people breaking deals. It all went down, and I'm not going to dwell on it because most of this game has been extremely fun. Some of the stuff around this was a little not fun. And as someone in chat is reminding me, one of my best diplomats, but I think most of the diplomatic corps might even agree that my best diplomat quit the game temporarily over the fallout and the anarchy and the debates that happened around this one. It was tough. There were some difficult times, but the Dutch Cultural Act passed. We respect that. The nation is Dutch. The nation was Dutch in EU4. The nation will remain Dutch in HOI4. We may be based in the UK, but we have strong Dutch cultural roots, and we can all respect that and move forwards. Allies of the Realm Act. This is honestly just a great bill. Jack, who's one of the people in the Imperial Party that I've been in a lot of personal contact with, both negotiating, giving them heads up about upcoming bills, and working with them on ideas for upcoming HOI mod. He's a great guy. This is a fantastic bill. I have nothing negative to say about this bill. It looks beautiful, it's well written, it limits the player monarchs in a very specific and well worded way. I don't want to object to it at all. It's also, I believe, the highest pass margin of any bill that we have so far seen. 592 ayes and only 36 noes. Pretty darn good. It basically says, ally people who are sensible to ally, don't attack people who are sensible to ally, don't ally people you're going to attack, use the air to secure alliances, and look for peaceful ways to expand the realm. It's a great bill. I have nothing more to add. The War and Expansion Act. Let's do that one. No, so the remaining 3, they're all real pivotal. This video is going to be 40 minutes long, maybe 50 minutes long. I was going to record all 4 of the recaps in a row. I can't do that. I'll have to do some of the other recaps like tomorrow or something. This is a huge bill, and honestly, my party's efforts were so focused on culture and religion, we basically barely read it. We didn't really read it. We didn't really put up an organized opposition, which I would have liked to have done, honestly. There's a lot of things that we could have amended. There's a lot of things we could have... I don't think we could have killed the bill because it had a lot of support. And I think, I suspect, but I don't know, that the GRP was saying, yeah, we'll give you full support on this as long as you support us on culture. And I believe that Snek, who we'll talk about more in a bit, was saying, sure, we'll support you on this if you support us on our religion and things like that. There was clearly deals going on around this. It was overwhelmingly supported in the Senate. And we didn't have time to organize a similar coalition to oppose this one, as we did to support our Religion Act, as we did to support our Culture Act, which sadly failed. Our Culture Act, by the way, just to mention it, it's not going to come up because it didn't pass. But it was a beautiful bill. It protected the Gaelic cultures. It established a Dutch Anglo cultural union. It was wonderful. But we won't dwell too much on that. So this establishes the expansion priorities. And as you can see, red designates where we start, and then the priorities are designated: the maroon, green, orange, purple, etc., etc. So in order, you have to conquer the maroon, then the green, then the orange, then the purple, and until you've conquered everything that's highlighted on the map. Let me just say as well, it's a beautiful map. It's really well drawn. I love this concept of eras. You have to conquer things in a particular order. You have to conquer particular areas. I think the priority list for many of the early conquests are spot freaking on. They're exactly what you should be conquering. I don't oppose many parts of the bill. One thing I do oppose is the tendrils, because I am both ideologically and my party is ideologically opposed, where possible and where not negotiated that we will allow it, to border gore. So there's some things I really would have liked to see stripped from this bill, but it's good and it was well written, and I didn't vocally oppose it at all in the Senate because I knew that the Imperial Party and many others, I assume, and I feel quite confident in assuming, spent a lot of time working on a really good plan, and I didn't want to oppose it just by saying that's a bad plan, but I have nothing to replace it with. That's because, I mean, apart from anything else, most of it's a great plan. I just don't like the snakes. Sorry, Snack. This passed heavily. It's a really good bill. There were some friendly amendments that were added in about some renaming and the conquering of specific mines, which comes from the GTA. That's the Grand Trust Alliance, another party that I have had the great pleasure to work with. And it passed relatively narrowly. I think a lot of my party did vote no, and a lot of anti-border gore supporters did vote no, but there wasn't a huge amount of drumming up internal support against this bill, or nor, as I say, an organised opposition to it. So it's not surprising to me that it's it's well made and it passed. Now, the Act for the Expansion and Regulation of Privateering. This bill is controversial because, again, it specifically mentions the fact that in preparation for EU4, the player monarch shall try to steer the nation towards a pirate republic. Now, we're going to talk more about this in the next legislative session, the one that preceded EU4, and I will do another recap of similar scale for that session. But this basically says we want to be pirates. We want to capture nobles. We want to be like friends of the peasants. We want to raid. We want to burn down the Holy See. We want to do all kinds of stuff around that. And it was controversial, not least because, in some senses, it conflicts with the Dutch bill. The capital of the Jarldom must always be situated on an island coastal province. You know what the Netherlands, or rather Holland, is not? It's not an island coastal province. So this caused a lot of conflicts. We were throwing our weight behind support. I don't mind telling you that the VPH was throwing its weight behind this in no small part in exchange for a certain degree of cooperation on some of our other bills at the time. And so there was a lot of talk within the VPH. We had a number of, we hold internal votes, like several of them daily, or internally on policy. There was some I think we had one vote on it at one point which had 20 no's and 20 yeses in terms of should we back this bill. And there was arguments back and forth, and there were compromises made, and we ended up at something like 30-10 in favour of supporting the bill. It was really tense. There was a back and forth because some people thought that piracy conflicted with the sense of prosperity. I think I eventually settled on the concept of, sure, we like prosperity, but we like the prosperity for us. And that was the privateering bill. We'll come back to this, as I say, in the EU4 legislative session recap, but boy, oh boy, was this a big deal. Next, my goodness me, the Religious Act. Now, I don't mean to toot my own horn, and there were others involved, and I will call them out by name. This is one, I mean, this sounds silly. It's a video game, and it's not even a video game. It's like a game about a video game. This is one of the most proud moments of definitely of 2021, maybe of like all lockdown for me, is the creation of this bill. This is the Religious Act, proposed by the Victorian Prosperity Hawks and SNEC, with input from Rage and TBD, authored by Senator 9Guy, co-authored by Senator Recon UHD, Speaker Christo, Senator Wickle, and images are provided by Neptune, Your Guy Pie, and a Bigger Fish. Some of those are taken out, some of the images. all of them, in fact, it looks like. So, let me set the scene for you, and this is the final bill we're going to look at before we very quickly take a look at the recap of the actual session, which I think I will actually include in this one. This video, that is. So, there were two faiths proposed. The Church of Snek and the Church of Victoria. Now, there was conflict because essentially it looked like neither of these faiths commanded a majority in the Senate. And of course, we needed a majority because otherwise we'd be left with the default, which would be A, Norse, which no one particularly wanted, and B, the player monarchs getting to pick their religion, which nobody wanted. So first what happened is the Snek vote happened, and that failed. The Snek vote failed, which meant that in order for the Snek religion to get in, it had to somehow incorporate with the Victorian religion. The Victorian religion was proposed by the VPH, the Snek religion was proposed by the Snek Party. And a lot of the Snek people were saying, you basically have to get our religion in because otherwise you'll kill our party. And there are two things on this. Firstly, sure, I sympathize, but B, we're not just going to abandon our legislative agenda because we're going to kill your party. So we had some negotiations. There were some negotiations before the bills got submitted saying, can we compromise? Can we find a middle ground where we can support each other, where we can have a faith that we can both back? And those negotiations, they went somewhere, but they failed to conclude in time, and the negotiations essentially broke down on a few points that what seemed like irreconcilable difference. So the Snek vote failed, and the vote on the Victorian religion was coming up. And I said to my diplomats, do what you can. Get support from what votes... Find all the votes you can find in other parties. We really, really want the Victorian religion to pass. We want to be able to praise Our Lady, Our Grace Victoria. Compromises on that had to be made later for... stream, like banned memes on stream reason around not being allowed to have the word Victoria, but we don't need to go into that because it's not fun. So there was all these conversations and they weren't going anywhere, and we were trying to get enough support to back our Victorian bill, but I was hearing in no uncertain terms from various parties. From Snek, they were saying, you killed our religion, we hate you, we want to destroy your religion in return. And honestly, to an extent, fair play to them. Can you blame them? We had led a charge that had resulted in the death of their god. How could they not hold it against us? And then there was the Imperial Party. They were saying, we don't like a lot of your opposition to our earlier bills. We don't like you at the moment. We want to see your religion fail, and we're going to back Snek, and we have deals with Snek. Fair enough? Can't say any fairer than that. By the way, the things I'm sharing here are what was said in public. I'm not going to tell you about what happened in a lot of the kind of the back channels. So I reached out to a few parties. I was trying to get the Imperials on side in exchange for maybe backing their war and expansion bill. That didn't work. I was trying to find compromises. I was trying to weaken areas of our religion in order to accommodate other people's support. I was working with the SSS. I was working with just about everybody. Let me show you an image of me working on this this bill. And this is a real photo of me at my computer that was taken at about 1 a.m. Where is it gone? I'm sure I saved it in the propaganda corner, didn't I? Did I not? I think I didn't save it here. All right, hang on. I apologize. Trust me, it's worth seeing this. Where did I save it? Hang on. Let me pause the recording while I just find this video. No, I mean this image. Here we go. I found the image. This is me sitting at my computer with my 5 screens, one of which I've obscured with the VPH flag at the time. We have our logo in the top right. The VPH work through the night. So the true story of this photo is I was in bed falling asleep, and I looked at my phone to do a final check of Discord, and I won't name names, but I saw a diplomat going off off message. They were negotiating with another party, and they were straying from what I considered to be vital that we maintained as the party line. And I, no word of a lie, it was about 1 a.m. I jumped out of bed. I jolted upright, and I came out of the bedroom, and I sat down at my computer, and I whacked my screens on, and I was like, no, let me in. We need to shut that down. We need to sort this out immediately. It needed doing because the party line was so specific and so important that we stuck to it. And not to roast myself too much, I got told off by my fiance for this one because she had already fallen asleep. And me jolting out of bed to come and go like, no. We need to get a handle on this diplomatic crisis right now. It was quite a moment. But that's part of the story of the religious bill. The VPH, work through the night. That's how we get our bills through, baby. Through blood, sweat, and my tears. Others as well. Many members of our party had worked extremely hard on this. So that was the situation. We were hated. Our bill was now looking like it would fail, and we had to do something radical. And so I said to my diplomatic channel, with my trusted diplomats, I said, okay, I'm reaching out to a different party. I have an idea. You won't guess. you won't guess what we're gonna do. And the diplomats were saying like, is it rage? Is it the Imperials? No, it can't be the Imperials. Is it the liberal chambers of burgers and commerce? Is it GTA? Is it gonna be, you're gonna try and deal with those guys? And I was like, nope. And eventually someone guessed, no, you're reaching out to Snek? But we had the negotiations. They failed. We didn't manage. Don't worry, guys. I have an idea. And we're going to do this. And the music just switched to more upbeat, which is perfect timing. So I reached out to Snek. I DM'd the party leader. I DM'd a couple of their diplomats. And I laid out the situation. I don't think it's a breach of confidence to share what I said to them. So I'm going to try and get that up, actually. So I'm not going to show you the Discord, because obviously that would include what he'd said. But I said something along these lines. I said, firstly, I'm sorry your bill was amended by ours. It's not a great way to run votes. I hope it doesn't happen again because of the way that the votes are run. And I said, I would like to discuss a deal based on the mutual goal of your party having fun. I propose a joint declaration, and then we have a further bill and amendment, a religious union of sorts. It's unfair if we don't get Snek in there. Something along the lines of a dual faith, or Snek being a prophet or a god, something like that. This allows the Victorian bill to pass and allows Snek as a religion to survive. This, to my perspective, that represented the best chance for both parties to have an enjoyable time. Sorry, I'm being asked to bring back an image that I don't currently have saved. How do I will, hang on a second. And I reached out and I was saying basically, there's only one way that Snek can get into this game, and that's if we make a compromise. And there was, I don't think Snek would mind me saying this because it was very apparent in the Senate at the time. There was hostility. I was not met with like, yeah, great idea. I was met with a lot of, that can't work. I don't see a way we can do it. I don't see how we can manage to make this kind of union faith work. You killed our god. We want to strike you down in return. But, here I can actually tell you. Let me check. Let me tell you the number of messages that went back and forth between us and Snek to negotiate this deal. So I've checked. In total, the conversation between us and Snek represented approximately 1,400 messages back and forth. That's from various diplomats, the lion's share of them from me and one main diplomat in Snek called Wickle, who deserves a lot of credit for his work. He was clearly not very keen on the idea, in my impression, early on, but he came round, and we all managed to see that this was the best way to have both of our faiths survive. Now let me just read you some of this. No, this is the... Anyway, you're linking the wrong religious act in the voting lobby, by the way, because this says this. But we came up with a union of the faith, the Church of the Victorious Snek. Members of it are deemed victorious. Snek is our god above, and we have the following rules which we apply. You can see Anyway shown up on the document. I think he's linking me to the correct one. Nope, that still has the word. Yep, that's wrong. I'll send you the new one in a minute. And this passed handily. As you can see, we had 476 ayes and 135 noes, and the religion matter was closed. How closed is the matter of religion? Well, let me show you something. Firstly, we have obviously the religion bill itself, but let me show you a agreement. This is the Perpetual Religion Agreement, as signed by Speaker Christo on behalf of the Victorian Prosperity Hawks and Brother Wickle, a disciple of Snek, on behalf of the Border Gore Party of Snek. The VPH and Snek parties agree that the state of our faith, as described in the win-win edition of the religious bill, is permanent. Both parties will vote in favour of the quick vote in order to establish this new faith. This document represents the compromise position of our parties, and neither will seek to undermine it or damage the faith. If either does so, they can be considered in violation of this agreement, and other parties may judge them accordingly. Both parties will come to the defence of the religion if any attempts are made to alter or remove it, unless agreed upon by both parties. This represents a great accomplishment. This agreement is a union. It's a win-win. There is also now a win-win-win edition, which was again jointly agreed on, of course, under the Perpetual Religion Agreement. Such joint agreement is required. A Snektorian quorum of 6 has been established, which has 6 official members, 3 from the VPH and 3 from Snek, and it requires a majority vote in the Snektorian quorum of 6 in order to change our religion in any way. That more or less wraps up the bills that represent the core of our faith. And it was a fantastic time. But that only brings us to about here. And we have the breakdown of the parties. Something I haven't done yet that I'll do here. And then we're going to take a look at the document that my party created detailing the different stages of the campaign. The actual stream, that is let's look at all the parties and let me summarize them for you real quick. There's the Imperial Party. They stand for monastic power, overseas conquest, imperialism, and might. There's the Victorian Prosperity Hawks. We stand for peace through strength. We accept that sometimes war is necessary, but our ultimate goal is harmony, economic prosperity, and overseas influence, as well as standing for the rights of the people in our country. The bureaucratic departments stand for forms. Let's use the latest version of the Senate to go through this. They stand for forms and as Byzantine a bureaucracy as is possible. The Soil, Sales and Science Party stand for soils, that is to say the people, the land, sales, that is to say the navy and piracy, and science, which is self-explanatory. There's the Admirals Party, who stand for a strong navy first and foremost. There is the Random Apocalypse Generator, the union of RNG and Apocalypse, who stand for the use of dice to make all decisions. They publicly roll their dice and invite members of other parties to come and be dice witnesses to ensure there is nothing underhanded going on. There's the Border Gore Party of Snek, who stand for the great god above Snek and the representation of his image in the world through the spreading of Border Gore. There's the Fire Platigator Congress, who stand for the protection of alligators and seem to have no policy beyond that. There's the illustrious liberal chambers of burghers and townsfolk, who are honestly pretty similar to the VPH in quite a few ways. They basically stand for wealth, commerce. They're much more Dutch aligned than we have typically been. There's the Glorious Revolution Party, who seek to, of course, bring about the Glorious Revolution and have succeeded and bring the Dutch to rule the UK. Other than that, again, they're pretty similar to the LCBT and the Victorian Prosperity Hawks in terms of their policy. We three, on matters of economy and conquest, are all pretty aligned. There's the Grand Trust Alliance, who stand for establishing as their prime goal monopolies over certain resources. Other than that, on social and military matters, they're pretty aligned again with the GRP, the LCBT, and the VPH. God, I love acronyms. And that's the state of the Senate. Now, if I will pause the recording for just a moment while I grab the Chronicles of Jorvik, which is the rundown that I won't fully go through, but I'll show you and then I'll leave a link to, so you can see what actually happened, what went on with all of these wonderful restrictions in place in the first 10-hour stream as played by the Paradox devs. This is the Chronicles of Jorvik from 867 to the 15th of June 971, made by Senator Neptune, based on data given by Senator Microwave Burns, Senator Teaser, Senator Neptune himself, Senator Snowlet, and Senator Praise Hattie. Thank you so much to all of those members in my party that have created this. It's really fantastic work, and it represents a excellent summary of what took place in the first stream. I'm not going to read it all to you because it's quite long. It breaks it down by monarch into different realms. All hail Jarl Bob, may his reign be long and prosperous. All hail Bob Var, may he restore us to our former glory. The stream itself, if you care about like playing well and having really good outcomes, it was a bit of a train wreck. But if you care about enjoyable stories, which is far more important, it was fantastic. We got exiled to Ireland at one point. We ended up as Alba's vassal. That's what ended up, Scotland, obviously, Alba being the same word, basically. It was really good fun. But if you really want a detailed breakdown, and I'm putting this in stream chat, by the way, for your benefit right now, and it will be in the link will be in the description. This is a fantastic document for seeing everything that happened in the first session. And as Snowlet is pointing out in chat, one of the people that contributed to filling this out, it kept the game real interesting for EU4, because if you play CK2 really well for 10 hours, you end up just, winning. You end up just getting all of the land, you can conquer like the known world, which would have made EU4 real dull. Whereas in this case, EU4 was real interesting. And what happened at the end of CK3, just before we end the session, and then I wait for the second recap. I'll do a recap again of the EU4 legislative session. But what happened between the two campaigns was we were in such a disastrous state. We did manage to rename to Dutch law. We reformed Snekism, the Church of the Victoria Snek. But because we were now under another person's rule, and we were so weak, it meant the Senate had to pull together, and pull together they did in the form of the Grand Assembly. But that is a story for another day. Thank you very much for watching. It's an hour-long video that I meant to last 10 minutes. Just normal hours. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this summary. If you're not already involved, there is a link in the description. There is a link in the comments. Join the Jorvik, not that we're Jorvik anymore, we're now the dual monarchy. Join the dual monarchy's Senate, get your vote heard, join a party. I've summarized them for you so you can see which ones suit you. Of course, I want you to join the Victorian Prosperity Hawks, but it's up to you. And it's really, really good fun. And as chat is pointing out, it was so close. We had this huge negotiation about Snekism, about the Church of the Victorious Snek, about the compromise. We had a massive, massive joint effort to create a mod which could actually bring Snekism into EU4. And it only got formed at the very last minute. Literally minutes. Sorry, I blew out the mic there a bit, but I mean, it's excited. Literally minutes before the end of the stream, we formed the church, and there was a lot of nail biting at the end. It was a great stream. It's a great thing to be a part of. The Primacy of Democracy Act is also probably going on my wall, along with the glorious Crown Yours Act, our Magna Carta. Good Lord, it's been fun to be part of this, and I strongly encourage all of you to come and be part of it as well. Thanks is due to Adaway, who is in my chat right now, who has organized this whole thing. He's been talking about organizing something like this for years, literally years, and it's an amazing thing that he's pulled off. So all credit to Adaway for running the actual event. Do come and be a part of it. There will be another summary on the EU4 session, the Hoy session, the Hoy legislative session is now beginning. And one other note on that, if you're interested in helping us build the Hearts of Iron 4 mod, which will represent the state of the world at the beginning of Hearts of Iron. This is not at all finished. Do let me know. Do join the Discord and @ me, and we can, if you're an experienced Hoi modder, we'd very, very much like your assistance to get this all done. We have a feature lock-in due on Tuesday. So there's not long left for us to get our wonderful stuff in. One little teaser, the federally organized region of the Mississippi, or FORM, as the bureaucratic department should be very happy to see, is in there. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I never transitioned, sorry. There we go. Here you can see the federally organized region. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. It's been a great pleasure to have you with me. I hope this summary helps you understand just how much fun we've all been having with the Grand Campaign, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.